In the pre-dawn hours of March 8, 2014, a seemingly routine flight departed Kuala Lumpur. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, a Boeing 777, was bound for Beijing. On board were 239 passengers and crew. But less than an hour into its journey, over the South China Sea, something inexplicable occurred. The aircraft vanished from civilian radar screens. Not a single distress call. Not a whisper of warning. The silence that followed was immediate, profound, and utterly bewildering. What happened in those critical moments? An unprecedented mystery was about to unfold. Flight MH370, a modern, well-maintained Boeing 777-200ER, departed Kuala Lumpur International Airport at 0:42 local time. The flight plan was direct, spanning approximately 6 hours to Beijing. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, a highly experienced pilot, and First Officer Farik Abdul Hamid were at the controls. The weather was clear. All systems, as far as was known, were nominal. There was no indication of any impending issue, no red flags. It was, by all accounts, a textbook takeoff for an international carrier. The world watched this flight begin, unaware of the profound silence that lay ahead. At 1:19, Captain Zahari's voice, calm and professional, transmitted the last known communication from the cockpit to Kuala Lumpur Air Traffic Control. "Good night, Malaysian 370. This was a standard handover to Vietnamese air traffic control. However, MH370 never established contact with the Vietnamese controllers. Attempts by Ho Chi Minh City ATC to reach the aircraft were met with silence. The transponder, which identifies the aircraft and transmits its position, had ceased functioning. It was a critical, inexplicable loss of communication, marking the beginning of the true enigma. The sudden disappearance from civilian radar was immediately alarming. But what amplified the mystery was the complete absence of any emergency beacon or distress signal. Modern aircraft are equipped with multiple systems designed to alert authorities in a crisis. An emergency locator transmitter, or ELT, should activate upon impact. Yet, nothing. The silence was absolute. It suggested not a catastrophic mid-air explosion, but something far more deliberate, or perhaps a rapid, incapacitating event that allowed no time for a call. The initial hours were filled with confusion, disbelief, and a growing sense of dread. While civilian radar lost contact, Malaysian military radar picked up a faint, unidentified target. This echo, later confirmed to be MH370, showed the aircraft had veered sharply from its planned flight path. Instead of continuing northeast towards Beijing, it had turned west, flying back across the Malaysian peninsula. This was not a course deviation due to emergency, but a seemingly intentional change of direction. What could explain such a drastic, uncommunicated shift? The implications were staggering, pushing the narrative from accident to something far more unsettling. The known facts began to diverge wildly. The military radar data indicated MH370 flew west across the Malaysian peninsula, specifically turning southwest over the Straits of Malacca. It then skirted the northern tip of Sumatra. This maneuver meant the aircraft was moving away from busy air traffic lanes, heading into less monitored airspace. The turn was precise, suggesting manual control. After passing the small island of Pulau Perak, the aircraft was last detected by military radar at 2:22 local time, some 200 nautical miles northwest of Penang, Malaysia. Its course now pointed south, towards the vast, unforgiving Indian Ocean. The initial confusion now transformed into stark realization. After its last appearance on military radar, Flight MH370 entered a domain of pure speculation. For hours, its fate was unknown, a phantom aircraft traversing unseen paths. No further primary radar contact was made by any nation. The aircraft was now beyond any terrestrial surveillance, its trajectory a puzzle with missing pieces. The world grappled with the implications: a massive airliner, once a symbol of modern aviation, now entirely untraceable. This period of silence, stretching for hours, became one of the most perplexing aspects of the entire disappearance, deepening the mystery surrounding its final journey. Then, a breakthrough from an unlikely source: satellite communication data. The British satellite company Inmarsat provided crucial, if enigmatic, information. Even after its transponder was off and communication systems ceased, MH370's satellite data unit continued to send automated hourly handshakes or pings to an Inmarsat satellite over the Indian Ocean. These were not GPS coordinates, but merely confirmed the aircraft was still powered on and communicating with the satellite. 7 such pings were recorded after the last radar contact, a ghostly trail across the vastness. This data was groundbreaking, yet added another layer of complexity. Analysis of these Inmarsat pings revealed a crucial detail: the angle at which the signals reached the satellite. This allowed investigators to deduce a broad arc where the aircraft must have been located at the time of each ping. The final partial handshake, occurring at 8:19, suggested the plane was along one of 2 narrow arcs, stretching far into the southern Indian Ocean. This was the first definitive clue as to the plane's general direction, but also horrifying in its implication. The aircraft had flown for many hours, undetected, into one of the most remote and inhospitable regions on Earth. Initially, search efforts were concentrated in the South China Sea, where the aircraft first vanished from civilian radar. Ships and aircraft from multiple nations converged, scouring the suspected crash site. But the military radar and Inmarsat data soon rendered this search area obsolete. The agonizing realization that the plane had turned west, then south, shifted the focus dramatically. Valuable time and resources had been spent in the wrong location, highlighting the profound uncertainty and conflicting information that plagued the early days of the investigation. The scale of the hunt was about to expand exponentially. Based on the Inmarsat data, the search shifted to the southern Indian Ocean, an area dubbed the Seventh Arc. This region is notorious for its treacherous weather, immense depths, and remoteness. Over the next 3 years, an international effort, led primarily by Australia, conducted the largest and most expensive search in aviation history. Specialized vessels, autonomous underwater vehicles, and advanced sonar equipment systematically combed a vast area of the ocean floor. The scale of the task was monumental, searching for an object no larger than a washing machine in an area larger than many countries. The search pushed the boundaries of deep-sea exploration technology. High-resolution sonar systems, typically used for oil and gas exploration, were deployed to map the ocean floor in unprecedented detail. Remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, and autonomous underwater vehicles, AUVs, descended to depths of over 6,000 meters. These machines systematically mowed the lawn, meticulously scanning every square meter of the designated search zone. Despite these advanced capabilities, the ocean refused to yield its secrets. The scale of the search was humbling, revealing the true challenge of finding a needle in an oceanic haystack. The southern Indian Ocean presented extraordinary challenges. The seafloor topography was rugged and complex, featuring vast plains, deep trenches, and underwater volcanoes, all obscured by strong currents and poor visibility. Weather conditions were often severe, with powerful storms and swells delaying operations for weeks at a time. The immense pressure at these depths also tested the limits of the search equipment. Despite the tireless efforts of hundreds of experts and billions of dollars spent, the primary underwater search concluded in January 2017 without finding the main wreckage. The ocean kept its secrets tight. Then, on July 29, 2015, a significant discovery was made. A piece of aircraft debris, a flaperon, washed ashore on Réunion Island, a French overseas department in the western Indian Ocean. This was over 500 days after the plane's disappearance and thousands of kilometers from the last known flight path. The barnacles attached to the flaperon offered clues about its time in the ocean. French authorities, in collaboration with Malaysian and Australian investigators, confirmed this was indeed a component from a Boeing 777. The world held its breath, wondering if this was the first tangible piece of the puzzle. The flaperon, part of a wing's trailing edge, bore a stencil identical to those used by Malaysia Airlines for its Boeing 777 fleet. Further analysis by French aviation experts confirmed its origin: Flight MH370. This was the first definitive, physical evidence that the plane had indeed crashed into the Indian Ocean. While it didn't reveal the crash location, it aligned perfectly with the drift models derived from the Inmarsat data. The discovery, though grim, validated the years of relentless search efforts in that remote expanse, proving the hypothesis that the plane met its end far from any landmass. Following the Réunion discovery, several other pieces of probable and confirmed MH370 debris washed ashore on coastlines thousands of kilometers apart. Fragments were found in Mozambique, Tanzania, Mauritius, and other locations along the western Indian Ocean seaboard. These included parts of the engine cowling, internal cabin components, and even personal effects. Each discovery, meticulously documented and analyzed, contributed to a broader understanding of the aircraft's final moments and the powerful ocean currents. However, none of these pieces provided specific clues about the main wreckage location. They confirmed the end, but not the how or the where. The recovered debris proved invaluable for refining drift models. Scientists used the precise locations and discovery dates of the fragments to work backward, simulating ocean currents to identify potential impact zones. These models consistently pointed towards the southern Indian Ocean, reinforcing the initial Inmarsat data and the chosen search area. The analysis suggested the aircraft likely impacted the water at high speed, disintegrating upon contact, which would explain the widespread, relatively small pieces of debris. The drift modeling became a critical tool, providing probabilistic guidance where direct evidence was missing. It painted a grim picture of the plane's violent end. In January 2017, the Australian Transport Safety Bureau, ATSB, released its final report on the underwater search. It concluded that MH370 most likely ran out of fuel after its extended flight and crashed into the southern Indian Ocean. The report suggested a ghost flight scenario, where the aircraft flew on autopilot until fuel exhaustion, leading to an uncontrolled descent. This implied that all on board were likely unconscious or incapacitated long before impact. Despite the comprehensive investigation, the precise location of the main wreckage and the true cause of the deviation remained unknown. An official end to the search, but not to the questions. The most prevalent theory, albeit still speculative due to lack of definitive evidence, points to a deliberate act by one or more individuals on board, likely the pilot. The uncommunicated turn, the disabling of communication systems, and the long, silent flight path are consistent with intentional actions. The ghost flight scenario suggests controlled flight until fuel exhaustion. While no motive was ever established, and no evidence directly implicates the crew, this remains a strong hypothesis for many investigators. It's a dark possibility, unsettling in its implications, suggesting a conscious decision to make the plane disappear. Other theories, though less supported by the available data, also exist. These include a catastrophic mechanical failure or an onboard fire that incapacitated the crew, rendering them unable to send a distress signal while the plane continued flying on autopilot. There's also the possibility of a depressurization event, leading to hypoxia and the unconsciousness of everyone on board. Some even speculate about illicit cargo or an act of terrorism, although no credible evidence has ever emerged to support these claims. Each theory attempts to fill the void, to answer the unanswerable, yet none perfectly fit all the perplexing facts. The crucial piece of evidence, the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder, commonly known as the black boxes, remain unrecovered. These devices hold the key to the aircraft's final moments, the conversations within the cockpit, and the precise operational parameters. Without them, any theory remains, to some extent, speculative. The pingers on these recorders have a limited battery life, which expired long ago. The deep ocean has effectively swallowed the definitive answers, ensuring that the critical data remains out of reach, perpetuating the agonizing uncertainty for investigators and families alike. The disappearance of Flight MH370 remains one of aviation's most profound and enduring mysteries. Despite an unprecedented international search, billions spent, and advanced technological deployment, the main wreckage has never been found. The fate of the 239 souls on board remains officially unknown. The facts paint a picture of an aircraft that turned away from its destiny, flying silently into the vastness of the southern Indian Ocean. Yet, the precise reasons, the why, are still hotly debated, leaving a gaping void in our understanding of what happened on that fateful night. The questions persist, echoing in the silence. Though official government searches have concluded, the desire for answers persists. New analyses of existing data, coupled with evolving oceanography and debris drift models, continue to fuel independent investigations and proposals for future searches. For the families of those lost, closure remains an elusive dream. Flight MH370 stands as a stark reminder of the ocean's power and the limitations of modern surveillance, a chilling testament to how, even in an interconnected world, a large passenger jet can simply vanish. Its story continues to challenge our understanding, pushing us to ask, what truly happened to Flight 370?